I just think about as a kid, Christmas come, right? And you want video game, whatever. But then your mom buy you clothes, coat. You like, this ain't what I wanted. You kind of act like, yeah, okay, I'm happy. But you looking at it like, man, this ain't really what I wanted. And you kind of not grateful. But at the same time, when it come down to it, I remember when them cold winters hit, I was pulling that coat out. That gratitude, was there then. It's easy for us to kind of do that measure and like, this ain't really, I don't put value on this.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. Look, super happy that y'all are here right now. Look, if you have not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Might as well, you see it on your screen right now. Go ahead and press the subscribe button before we get this thing started, because this is a conversation you're going to want to hear. And then the next one, just so you get a notification for it, you need to subscribe, because that's going to be a good one too. So now that that's out of the way, Mike, you said a phrase that I have never heard before. You want to break it down?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because I guess I'm dating myself a little bit, but this is a phrase that I remember when I was young. I heard like some old school cats, like maybe my grandfather or some of his friends would kind of throw out every now and again. And the phrase is, never look a gift horse in the mouth. And when I was young, I didn't really understand what that meant. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll kind of add a little context to it, why I brought it up in today. I thought it would be a good chat. I have many conversations, right? About life. A lot of, younger men, they talk to me about fatherhood. How is it raising 4 boys, being married for over a decade. But the most common conversation that people want to have is about real estate. They always want to ask me about real estate, and they want to encourage me to talk to more people. And I said, you know what? I actually want to talk to less people. But let me explain. I want to talk to the right people. You know what I'm saying? Because what I found is, and I was the same. I mean, it's not like I'm pointing the finger. When I was at a certain point in my real estate journey, when more seasoned people would tell me information, I didn't understand what they were telling me fully, and it kind of went over my head, okay? And so the reason why I thought about the phrase, never look the gift horse in his mouth, is I've had people, and this has happened like a few times in the last few weeks, where they're telling me about, challenges that they're having, where they're like, all right, I want to make more money, or I want to do this. And I'm asking a lot of questions because I never want to tell anybody what to do, but I'm also trying to present possible solutions, but I'm also recognizing that they're not registering the information. It's not hitting them, because you have to be in the mode to want to receive information when it's coming, right? And so diving back into that phrase, never look the gift horse in the mouth, is back in the olden days when you were offered, when somebody did something, you gave them an offering. If you gave them like one of your prize horses, that was like a very prestigious gift. So if I were to give Rodney one of my prize horses, and before he says thank you, he's looking to measure the teeth and looking at the gums, it's kind of like, it comes off as ungrateful and kind of like you're not accepting the gift. And that's another old school term, Martell. I don't know if you're familiar with, but if you say somebody's kind of long in the tooth, that's how they used to measure a horse's age, by how long their teeth were. And so when they're measuring the teeth, they're trying to figure out how valuable the horse is versus being thankful for the gift that they received. So that's the context of the conversation I want to have, is I want to get you guys' input about when we give gifts, or even times that we've received gifts, even if it's just like wisdom, but we weren't yet ready or in a place to actually make use of the information that was given to us.
I heard the phrase, I never knew the origin, Mike, and the whole, because as you were saying, I'm thinking, when I heard it, I'm like, well, maybe you look at the horse in the mouth, it's going to bite you or something. But when you break it down like that, that the whole age thing, the horse, the quality of the horse, and then the whole being longer too. But the point you making though, man, I just think about as a kid, even growing up, and I don't know if this happened with y'all. Christmas come, right? And you want whatever you want, a video game, whatever. But then your mom buy you clothes, and you sitting there, you like, yeah, socks, a hat, coat. You like, this ain't what I wanted, and so, you kind of act like, yeah, okay, I'm happy, but you looking at it like, man, this ain't really what I want. Or either maybe you wanted some Jordans or something, you got some other Nikes that you didn't want, and you kind of not grateful, but at the same time, when it come down to it, I remember when them cold winters hit, I was pulling that coat out. You know what I'm saying? I that gratitude, was there then, because I wasn't looking at the long game. But anyway, I just threw that out to say, hey, it's easy for us to kind of do that measure and like, this ain't really, I don't put value on this. You know what I mean? So you insult the person who gave it to you.
Yeah, and that was real quick. What I thought about when I was thinking about the title was, a lot of times when we ask for something of God, we ask for certain requests. We want it the way that we want it in our mind. Lord, expand my territory. I want, so many doors, so many houses. But the way that it comes may not be the way that we thought it was going to come. And then, like you said, we can be a little bit ungrateful.
Sometimes, I mean, you hear from churchy folks all the time, like everybody all of a sudden got a word from God for you sometimes. And a lot of times, like it might be, they feel like they giving you a gift by telling you what they were thinking about. But the thing about like how the Holy Spirit actually works is you need to validate that information for yourself before someone gives you they might give you a prophecy. They might be telling, even if you go and you listen to a prophet and they tell you something, if you're not at peace with that in your own spirit, the Holy Spirit didn't speak the same thing to you, then you can't take that information. You cannot take that information as truth. People have died from listening to somebody else's prophecy or listening to somebody else's word from God, going with it, thinking it is the word of God, but it was never settled in their spirit. And so they took a truth that wasn't the truth in the first place, and they died from it. And so when it's like, when it comes to what you were just talking about, like I mean, I'm always, and even when I tell somebody else, like when I strongly believe something, it is a message from God and I'm handing it to somebody else, like, look, I can't give you all of the background analytics about this, but this is what I'm saying. Make sure that you pray about it. I always finish it with make sure that you pray about it. Don't take my word for it. Make sure that you pray about it. And I'm always looking in the horse's mouth when it comes to that. Like, always.
I think what's important though too is who giving it to you. Because you know what I'm saying? So what you just said, Martell and Mike, kind of where you started this, like, hey, prize horse and so forth that somebody's giving, or Martell, you giving something straight from God, which that's prize information. If it's come from God, it's serious. But I think what's just as important is the person that's giving it to you. Because if that person has a history of cheating people, using the horse example, then you know that maybe you're not getting the prize horse. You know what I'm saying? Because that person got a reputation. Martell, you talking about that, oh, God gave me this message for you. And you looking at that person like, every other message you done put out there been fouled, and now I'm supposed to listen to what God told you to tell me. I think the giver is important. On the opposite side, if you got somebody who's high integrity, got a history just doing the right things, you tend to be like, oh, this is important. So I think that play a part too. I don't know what you guys think.
I thought, so the first thing that comes to my mind is, it's always something I live by. Like, I trust, but I also verify for myself. When we talk about like a spiritual element, I think that's why the word is so specific on, you have to know God for yourself. Like, nobody on this earth can give you the answers for every specific problem that you're going to come across. So you're already knowing that nobody can really give you the answer to your problem. When I think about looking a gift horse in the mouth, in the mouth, I put emphasis on the word gift. To where if you're purchasing a horse or something of value, then you expect a certain, return on your investment. If you're gifting me something, like Rodney, if you gift me something, you can give me your 1980s Michael Jackson jacket. And to me, I might be like, I may not have the same esteem, but if it's a gift coming from you, I'm going to say, hey, I appreciate that. I accept that, brother. Because I'm not looking at the potential value because I'm not purchasing it. You're gifting something. And the reason why is funny because, like I said, I find myself having a lot of conversations with people, and I love talking to people. But I recognize a part of my younger self in some of the people where I was looking for the answer. And now looking back, I realize you literally have to go through certain things yourself in order for the answer to be revealed. Because if you have information sometimes too early, too soon, it's not your moment, your time, sometimes you can misuse that information.
I'm not going to give you my 1980s Michael Jackson jacket, by the way.
I will receive it though, man. If it's in your heart, hey, brother, I say thank you with a smile.
It's the key word you said, in your heart. And that's the part, I guess, where I was getting at too. I think that part, it plays a role in it as well. And at the same time, Mike, I've heard you say this before too, and I think you think about it, you can meet somebody on the street who's part of the street and all that, and they can spit some knowledge to you. They can give you some nuggets. You follow me? So I think we, to the point about not looking to get force in the mouth, being open to listen and receive what somebody has. Now, whether it's of value or not, it's gonna play out later.
When you were speaking, Mike, you were talking when you were saying like somebody giving somebody else advice, and I completely understand that, and I've been trying to say that for so long. Just the fact that there's certain things you just can't be given, because even if you get the thing, you won't have had the experience to make it worth it or to really understand its value. And so it's like that made me think about all the people who are, giving out courses, giving out free information on YouTube, Instagram, social media all the time. And it's like, some of the information is good, some of the information isn't good, but if you haven't done anything yourself, you don't know the difference between the two. And so you might be listening to somebody and they say, or in their bio, it says, I've done X, Y, and Z big thing. And then you read that and then you listen to their content and you're like, oh man, that must be a fact. That must be the truth. And then you just take it. You just take it for what it is. You don't vet it out. You don't do no research on your own. You just go with it full fledged. And then it's like, boom, now you in $100,000 in debt and you don't know what to do. Cause it's like, you should have asked somebody else. Look, the Bible talks about how in the multitude of counselors, the victory is won. And so it's like when you get the information from one source and they're telling you one thing that is completely different from everybody else. Now, I'm not saying that this person doesn't have the information, but it is always good to kind of find out, okay, this person is in this particular field. They say that they've had this success. Let me go ahead and vet that information out from this person who's also in the same field, who's had a similar success to them. What do they think about this? Because you know what? Me and my experience, I have not done what they have done. And this information, I can't really vet it right now. Let me go talk to somebody who's already been there and done that and can probably say, actually, you know what? That's a really good idea. I think you're safer in that. So again, I think if we're putting the tally here, I'm on the side of looking the horse in the mouth.
I think we all gonna look the horse in the mouth, but we need to do it not in front of the person giving it to us.
Okay, there you go.
You follow me? I think we all
Yeah,
gonna,
that makes sense.
we all gonna check out the gift.
You gonna check and see what you got, even. So 100%, yeah, you're gonna check to see what you have. But so this is why this is a topic that I think we're gonna keep revisiting in some shape or form, because information is so readily available now. And I think about this often because, Rodney and I, even more so Rodney than myself, but even with me, I didn't have, I remember Facebook launched when I was a sophomore in college. Like, true story, and all through my high school, we had towards the end, I got the little dumb phone. It wasn't a smartphone. It was literally, you made a call or whatever. Dumb phone, yeah, a little flip phone. And the thing that was so cool about that time period was you could gauge where somebody was around or who they were kind of raised by based on the things that came out of their mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because you had to actually be in certain rooms to get certain information. If you wasn't around, like if you wasn't raised by the people that I was raised by, or I wasn't raised by the people that they were raised by, we had different information sources. Now the internet makes the world very small. You can literally Google anything. But the problem is the context in which the information is used. You don't even, like you said, Martell, you don't even know what you're looking at half the time. You know what I'm saying? And the only reason that, and like you said, Martell, you can have a multitude of counselors, but like in my business, for example, I can literally say like, it's a lot of ways to skin a cat. It's a lot of ways to get from point A to point C. You ask 10 different people, we might have took 10 different routes. Now, which route is best for you? That's something that you have to figure that out. You got to have certain type of reps and just process real life analysis to figure out which way makes sense. Maybe it's a combination of a few different things, but the whole point is you actually have to get out there and just you got to get some real life information.
The smartest person in the world might still be broke, because the fact is you got to do something. And that's just the reality of it. Like you can have all of the book knowledge, information. You could literally be a human encyclopedia and you can have all the words in the world. But until you actually put pen to paper or start typing on the keyboard or actually connect with somebody else or make a transaction, it's just up here. That's it. And so like the whole looking the horse in the mouth, I do want to talk about like that whole, the gift side of it. Because Rodney brought up the point of, okay, who's the one who's actually given the horse? Okay. And then we also kind of talked about is like, okay, if we look at this horse, like, is it a gift? And do we understand what a gift even looks like to us? We kind of look at those both sides, because it's like when you are receiving something from someone that you already know is a valid source, and that's different, like Rodney said. But then it's like, too, if I don't know, if I haven't done enough myself to even understand, if I'm even in the realm of something good, then I don't know what is a good thing or not. If anybody's ever given something to a kid who you thought was super valuable, right? Something that you gave to them and you thought it was incredibly valuable, like, oh man, they're going to love this, but they have no understanding of what it is. They do not treat it the way that you treat it. Prime example, my dad, I remember in high school, because he grew up in Detroit. And so he liked, nice cars, nice clothes, nice shoes, the whole nine. He liked the branded stuff. He's that kind of guy. And so I remember he took me out. He was feeling good. He was like, bro, let's go. All right, we're going to go shopping. And he wanted to get me like these Nike, like these Jordans. He was like, let's go over to this store. I forgot which store it was, like Polo or something like that. But it was all the fancy stuff. And I'm just like, when are we going to eat, dude? Like, I completely like, and it wasn't like an ungrateful type of thing. It was just like, none of this impressed, like, to me, I didn't see the value in it the way that he saw the value in it. So him bringing this to me like, hey, look, son, this is what I got you. I'm like, oh, great, a pair of shoes. Awesome, I'll put them next to my other shoes. He saw them as, no, these are Jordans. This is what all the kids want. Oh, they special. All right, cool. Well, then I'll put them over here, and I'll wear them sometimes instead of all the time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's actually, so that's a great, I'm glad you touched on that, because I wanted to bring that into, not necessarily that specific example, but kind of the same rank. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately too. And it goes back to, I guess I've just been on an old school vibe lately, like thinking about them core fundamental lessons that I feel were associated with, kind of my journey. And that old adage, we tell kids from toddler, we have 2 ears, 1 mouth. We should do twice the amount of listening than we do speaking. Okay. And that's another thing, like, in my childhood, where when I entered a room full of adults, I was always taught, like, you acknowledge the adults, but then you speak when spoken to. So I end up listening a lot. I learned so much because I was forced to listen. In this age, a lot of the young, I guess I say the younger, they lead with talking. They talk a lot. Everybody wants to tell you, oh, this is why this is the next, this is why this is, and I'm like, okay, cool. And that's cool because some of it is really cool stuff. But then when you're constantly talking, you're just regurgitating like information that you already know. You're not really learning anything else. And the reason why it's important, and I find myself doing this even with me as the father to my kids, I try to love them the way that they yearn to be loved versus the way I want to love them. Because your point, I've had an experience like that in your shoes too, where a loved one is doing something that they think is really cool, but it didn't really affect me the way I guess in their mind it would. But then I kind of thought, well, maybe that wasn't their intention in the first place, because a lot of times our human nature, we tend to want to love people or love ourselves through people. I did this, I did that. You good. I'm moving on to the next thing. And the person's like, well, I need you to sit here and talk to me for an hour. And that wasn't accomplished. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and I think it just goes back to no one in particular. It's just the humanness that we all have. And like I said, I've just been kind of just reflecting on a lot of core fundamental lessons that I learned. And it's like, I get it. Like, it's not easy to follow that adage where listen, twice as much as you speak. But if you don't spend more time listening, thinking, working out things in your mind, a lot of times people reveal who they truly are. They think they're saying something to impress somebody, but it's like they actually revealing like, oh, okay, that's where you at. Dang, I thought you was a little further ahead. And that's where you got to be cautious, and that's the part where, like I said, man, I've just been reflecting on a lot of these things lately.
I remember growing up, my dad had a tow truck, worked on cars. And I remember, every once in a while, somebody would say, hey, man, I got a car I want to give you. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember as a kid, this one guy had this car. It was a piece of garbage. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, what kind of gift is this? But the point was, my old man was like, he went over there, swooped the car up, checked it out, figured out what parts he could take off of it and use down the road. Then he, stripped it and then took it to what they call it for scrap. So even though it looked like a piece of garbage, he felt the value in it. You follow me? And even though, me looking at it or you looking at it, you're like, man, you can't do nothing with that. Because if you're thinking about the fact I'm going to fix it up and sell it and drive it, then you're going to miss out on what you can get from it. And I think that mindset is true with anything anybody give us. The giver, that's one thing, and the spirit that they're given. but how we receive it and look at it, we can find value in it some kind of way, potentially, is what I'm getting at. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. Yeah, that was a great articulation of the whole, dynamic where, because you have the giver and you have the receiver, but it's really the spirit element.
Yeah, because there's a big difference between like what you were just saying. It's like if the giver sees it one way, but the receiver sees it a completely different way, there's a disconnect. Like what I was just saying and what Mike was just saying. My dad saw it one way, I saw it a completely different way. Therefore, we weren't on the same page when the exchange happened.
It is a great topic, man, because, and I don't know about you guys. I mean, Mike's married, I'm married. Martell, you serious? You give your lady something. You done spent time trying to figure out. You like, man, okay, I done put time in this. You give it, and when you hand it to them and they take it, like, oh, that's nice. you yeah, and you feel like kind of like, oh, I didn't get her what she wanted, and so as a giver, I think we got to watch too to make sure that, then going to your point, Martell, with your dad too as well, is that we got to appreciate what the giver put into giving us a gift too, when they come in with the right heart, so that we don't crush that giver's spirit either. You know what I'm saying?
We got to be careful too, because another old school phrase where they say, hey, just keep living, because the funny thing about that coin, we like I said, I found myself on the receiving end, like kind of like, man, what the heck is this? But then with my kids, I've been humbled where I'm like, hey, I got that. And they like, oh, okay, I'm out. And I'm like, wow, so it is very humbling, but it makes me think about, when I was kind of on the other side, I'm like, okay, so that's why I think, like, kind of like what you was alluding to, Rodney, where the spiritual element is, how can we find something positive in every interaction? It may not be the gift that we wanted, but how can we find something positive?
There was a few things in this conversation, but it also, the last thing that I did think about was like, I don't know if y'all ever did this, but back in elementary school, I know we would have like Valentine's Day or whatever, or Mother's Day, and they would have us all like make like a macaroni art on a plate, right? Glue and macaroni, you stick it to the plate. And then you feel so like, I mean, you put your heart into putting this little macaroni plate together. You can't bring it to your mom, you hand it to her and you just look at her face. You just wait to see what her reaction is to this macaroni plate that you spent your class period working on. And it's like that reaction means everything, right? It's like the mom, you grow up and you realize, okay, it's probably just gonna go in the refrigerator and it's gonna live there for a little bit, maybe a few weeks, then it's gonna end up in the trash. That's just the life of it. But as a kid, you only thinking about, oh man, I done gave mom the best skip in the world. She gonna be blown away by this one. And then when she gets it, it's the mother's responsibility to be the most excited that she can possibly be in that moment, because like anything less is going to crush the kid's spirit. And so it's like, that's what this kind of made me think of, because it's like you grow up and you realize the macaroni plate is really not, ain't that, but it's everything to that kid that spent their class period making it. And so like, it's important because we know that as believers, our command, it's essential for us to love one another. And I think that's a part of it. That's putting an extra smile or extra little exaggeration on your reaction. I think that is showing love right there.
I think that's a perfect illustration.
Cool. Well, fellas, let's go ahead and get some housekeeping items in to get the people active. Mike, you want to kick it off?
Yeah. Stop by our Instagram at Detroit Investor _WCI. Got some cool stuff going on in real estate, raising my family, and also got some merch available.
Hey, check out freedomchristministry.com. Go to our website. We got all the information out there. You can go check us out on Instagram as well, too. But hey, I want to reach out to all the brothers. Man 2.0, meet the second Saturday every month. check us out. We meet at 28202 Franklin Road in Southfield. That's at 10 a.m., the second Saturday of the month. So come check us out if you're in town, in the area, and if you're just coming through. Sometimes people come from out of town, they visiting, and they come check it out too as well. Trust me, you will be transformed.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you run a business and you are having issues with setting appointments, client acquisitions, that's what we do over at Focus 417. Just last month this was the first full month of working with a particular client who's got a creative business, a creative service business, and we 300% increased their number of appointments in a month, which created more sales opportunities and created more sales for them than they would typically have on their own. If you're having any sort of issues with that, you can't get people in the door, you can't get the word out, you're not able to really set things up to where it's kind of automated to where you can just get to the people who want your stuff, that's what we do. So information is below. You can go ahead and book a meeting. We can talk about it. With that, hey, make sure you go ahead and subscribe if you did not do that at the beginning of the episode. This is your second opportunity to do that. Go ahead and do that right now and hit that notification bell, because on the next episode, it's going to be absolutely amazing. We hope to see you there. Peace.
Peace.